Yep, that's right. Camp is over. It's go time.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day.
Okay, welcome in. I'm Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer, 1620. The Zone is right there with me. First day of school in Lincoln for the Nebraska students and all of the Nebraska athletes, including the Nebraska football players. Yes, camp is over. The Huskers scrimmaged on Saturday, second scrimmage. Couldn't scrimmage in Memorial Stadium because there was a concert in the stadium on Saturday night, but the stadium is now theirs. Concert season is over. There will be no more concerts at Memorial Stadium until after the renovation project is done. So hope you got tickets to one of those while they were available. 2 weeks of practice left until the opener.
That's not completely true.
There is a concert after a game. Forget about Cole Swindell.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for stepping in there.
Just got to make sure the concert game, we don't want to take it on the chin from Cole Swindell and his fans. That's for sure.
No more standalone events, standalone concerts.
There you go.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, Nebraska will continue to focus on itself. And then the game prep begins on Thursday for Ohio, the Bobcats. They named Nick Poulos as the starting quarterback for the opener over this previous weekend. He is 6'6", 235 pounds, fifth-year senior, been at Ohio for the past 2 seasons as a backup, played in 12 games last year, threw for 290 yards. So a veteran, but new on the starting range with his first start to come here at Memorial Stadium.
Yes. I'm not sure it quite matters who Ohio's starting quarterback is going to be. He is a large person, I suppose, which is mildly notable. And he's an older guy, but he hasn't played very much in his career. Nebraska named its starting quarterback as well. And they went with a much smaller person. Anthony Calandria is going to be the starting quarterback in game 1. So the conspiracy theorists of the TJ Lateef people, the Teefies, they could put it away for at least 1 week. Anthony Calandria is your starting quarterback week 1.
I hear that those people actually exist, and I wonder in what corners of the world they operate, because
there's a handful.
It was never going to happen.
Yeah. There's a handful of weirdos that are still out there. It's like, I think TJ is really, TJ Lateef has had a great camp. Don't get me wrong. But, it was.
They brought in Anthony Calandria in January to be the starting quarterback, and they paid him to be the starting quarterback. Okay. As long as he was healthy, he was going to be the starting quarterback. This was breaking news on some media outlets Saturday. Matt Rhule was asked, "Are you planning to go with Anthony Calandria as your starter in the opener?" To paraphrase the question, and he said, "Yeah, he would be the guy right now." And then breaking news flashed across the screens. It's kind of like saying, breaking news, Dana Holgorsen will call the offense in the season opener for Nebraska.
It is a good thing to clarify. Like, it's just kind of one of those things where you have to say, like, hey, I'd like the coach to say it out loud. It's one of those deals, but yeah, it was always going to be him.
Yep. It had kind of been confirmed by observations that we've made in camp this month and everything that Nebraska players and assistant coaches and Matt Rhule and the coordinator had said. And then Rhule talked more about Calandria and the way that he has operated the offense and what he did for Nebraska in this scrimmage on Saturday. And the first thing that came up in his evaluation of the quarterback now that camp is over is that extension of plays. So it's a consistent message from what we heard about Anthony Calandria going back to the spring. And if nothing else, Connor, I think that is a small sign of positivity. There are other signs of positivity, but you can take a sign of that is a sign of positivity, that the things that Nebraska expected its offense to be and talked publicly about its offense becoming back in February and March when spring practice was happening are still the things that they're talking about now as we get to near game week, end of August.
Yeah, and it confirms that your quarterback is really making up what your offense is. And that's not foreign. That's not different from many other places around the country. But we talked a lot on this podcast, Mitch, about like what their offense is going to be and the direction that it's heading, and what they want it to be, and all these different things. And the answer is wherever Anthony Calandria goes. This guy is your starting quarterback. He is going to make up a giant swath of the production of your offense. Not just because he is the quarterback, but he's going to run. He's going to extend plays. He's going to take sacks. He's going to throw interceptions. He's going to make explosive plays, like all those different things.
Is this all in one drive?
Possibly. Yeah. So get ready for the Calandria coaster. But we had the roller coaster. I guess we're on the Calandria coaster now, but this one might be a little bit more fun.
They both have good names. They both have sound very much like amusement park rides.
Definitely.
We're going to go through in this show. We're going to kind of reset what happened in camp and now take a step back and give you a couple of things that we feel good about, that you should feel good about coming out of camp, better about than you did going into camp. And then that's in the second segment. And in the third segment, we're going to go through some remaining questions. What didn't get answered in camp? But first, just a little bit of review of some of the news and nuggets that Rhule shared on Saturday. And there was media availability on Friday after we recorded our mailbag show with a bunch of the defensive assistants, Rob Dvoracek, Addison Williams, Roy Manning, all spoke to the media, and a bunch of defensive players. No Rob Orich, although Rob Orich did talk with Kyle Crooks on Thursday, and I believe that was posted on Friday on the Huskers Radio Network socials. And Orich said that Owen Chambliss missed last week with an injury. There was no mention of that from Matt Rhule or clarification about that from Matt Rhule on Saturday. And Rhule did say that all of their players, all of their expected starters are ready to go and expected to be good to go for the opener next Saturday. So I'd expect that Owen Chambliss is going to be among that group, and he's a huge part of it. Definitely a starter at linebacker for Nebraska. So one player who remained out on Saturday in the scrimmage is Tree Babalade, the South Carolina transfer who has been playing right tackle, remains a key part of the plans for Nebraska up front. But Gunnar Gatula has supplanted him right now as the I think the starter at that position. And if not the starter at that position, definitely a starter somewhere in Jeep Wade's group. He is in the top 5, Rhule said on Saturday.
Yeah. That seems like the way we were headed anyway. And now you add in a little bit of a bang up for Babalade. So you hope he's back in there, because he'll be a factor this year for Nebraska along the offensive line. But it does feel like that decision is sort of made itself at this point. So you have your starting 5. Gunnar Gatula is your right tackle. And other than that, as far as the starters are concerned, I mean, just a couple bumps and bruises, like you said. You had Chambliss, missed a couple practices here and there. I'm sure you've had some guys who have been in and out a little bit that we probably haven't even heard about. And then that's it. Like we'll be pretty healthy and ready to rock in 2 weeks.
I chuckled a bit. There was a post from Justin Evans of the offensive lineman walking off the field after practice on Friday or Saturday. I think it was Saturday because they were all in pads, and it was Evans and Brendan Black and Paul Mubenga and Gunnar Gatula, which is 4/5 of what is right now the top group on the offensive line. And they were just an imposing figure, like a wall walking off the field. But there was no Elijah Pritchett to be found, which is so in line with Elijah Pritchett's personality that it made me giggle a little bit. When I wrote the article about Elijah Pritchett to go behind the scenes back in the spring, we scheduled the interview like 4 times before the two of us actually connected. And then it was one of the best interviews that I've had in months, or you could even say like in the last year at Nebraska. He's a really enlightening guy. He's just a little bit difficult to track down at times. There was a podium set up for Elijah Pritchett at Nebraska's preseason media day in Lincoln right before camp started, but there was no Elijah Pritchett at the podium. So even his teammates sometimes have a little bit of a difficult time tracking him down and to get him to be there for their walk off the field. But I tell you where he will be is at left tackle, ready to go on September 5th against Ohio.
Yeah, set up the podium there. That's fine. He's not gonna miss the date with the Ohio Bobcats.
I don't think so. He was at practice.
Right.
Kamir Prescott was injured last week. Rhule said after the scrimmage on Saturday, he is a backup safety and he is out for the season with a knee injury. So that's really it. There have been a few others. Caleb Benning is one who's missed some time here in camp, and they're not done. They're not done practicing, but to get through camp, the camp portion of August, and be as injury-free as they are, this was a talking point for us, I think, after the first time we got to watch practice, because that row of exercise bikes was empty. It continues to be a theme with this team that they're in good shape and that they've been taken care of from a nutritional and strength and conditioning standpoint, and that enabled them to get through August so far, knock on wood, without anything major.
I think so. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people overdo it with that. It's like, oh, well, we know their strength and conditioning is good. We know their nutrition is good and all these different things. I don't know that that's necessarily paved the way for them to be healthy in fall camp. But
flexibility, I think just the mindset, the lifestyle, like what they teach them about getting rest and hydrating and all of that stuff. It matters for the soft tissues and the hamstrings, and it's, some injuries are just freak injuries, and you can be in the best shape of anybody in the conference and you're still going to get hurt. But I think it's a factor.
Yeah. But I don't want to do the thing where if they hit a rash of injuries at some point, it's like, their strength and conditioning, they might not be, but I'm not going to do that. So I don't know. But it is definitely good that they have made their way through camp without too many bumps and bruises here.
It's a good point. It's not all interconnected, but when the injuries don't pile up, if you're looking for a reason, Corey Campbell and Kristen Coggan, good job. So
nice. Good job by you.
All right. Take a break. Come back with the things that you should feel even better about, or just better about, period, now in comparison to a month ago. That's next. Hey, running a business should not feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. If you run a business, there's sometimes one app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and then somehow none of them actually talk to each other. What you need to do is look at Odoo. This is where Odoo comes in. Odoo, ODOO, is a all-in-one business management software experience that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place. It helps your team move faster. It helps you stay organized. It helps everyone focus on growing the business instead of managing software. Yes, the best organizations know that success is not just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And it's true in sports, just like it is in business. It's true with this Nebraska football team, with the leadership that they have. They are all working together to try to stay organized, to try to help the team move forward. And as long as they're on the same page, everything becomes more easy and more manageable. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon.
I asked the question on my show on Friday, where I asked it to my co-host Mike Schaefer, and then answered myself. If there's something that makes you feel warm and cozy, just makes you feel comfortable about the season going into it here in a couple weeks, and my answer to it, and Schaefer's answer as well, for the record, was the fact that they're so experienced. The fact that Nebraska has, I think we counted it up, 120 plus starts along the offensive line,
something like that,
amongst those six guys, something like that. A fourth year
128
who's played a bunch of, a bunch of different places, but he's played a lot of football. It's a similar thing at wide receiver. It's a similar thing really across the ball, with the exception of running back. And then, a whole bunch of spots on defense where there's just guys who are in their third, fourth, and fifth year of college football. It is the thing that I'm hanging my hat on going into this season that makes me feel good about it. I don't know. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but it certainly raises the floor. What does that mean? We'll find out, but it definitely makes me feel good going into this season.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Pat Stewart, Nebraska's general manager, last week, and that's one of the topics that we discussed. There's another topic that we discussed about roster management and team building that is written and should be published in an article to come out tomorrow, Tuesday. That's my thought. That's my hope on that. Certainly early to middle of this week, something with some Pat Stewart in it, and not in that article, but perhaps in a future article, what were his thoughts about experience and how I asked him about how his mindset has changed in his year now at Nebraska as the GM. He's the man who's charged to put the team together. So when they went about this decision-making process last winter, and the decisions had to be made long before last winter, they had to be made this time last year and sooner, to go smaller on the recruiting class and then load up on the portal and retention. He was at the top of those conversations, at the top of the tree on the decision-making process. And he said it quickly was apparent to him in becoming a part of a Big Ten program that and we've heard Matt Rhule say the same thing from early in his time at Nebraska, that you've got to get old and figure out a way to stay old as a team. And for the first, I wouldn't say that Nebraska is like old leaning as a team, but they are much older as far as like the breakdown of juniors and seniors or fourth and fifth year players on the roster. Some of those fourth year players are, they're juniors. It's different now without the red shirts, how they're listed, but yeah, fourth and fifth year players. There are many more numbers wise in a ratio of those players to the first and second and third year players than there were in year 1, 2, and 3 for Matt Rhule. And that, in theory, should have a positive impact on Nebraska's ability to play well in the fourth quarter, to play well in November, to be composed, and just be a better football team.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you could take this one way or the other, but I don't think there's a single freshman in the two deep. Like point blank period, with the possible exception of Danny Odom.
Yeah, and I would probably not put him there right now.
Yeah,
I think the top two at that spot is Jeremiah Charles and Victor Evans. And I think Odom can get there this year, but you're right, Jamal Rhule. Probably not in the two deep, but I think he gets on the field as one of the top three running backs. Luke Sorensen at tight end was somebody that we heard a lot about coming into Nebraska, but I don't think that he is in the top 2 or 3 even at tight end right now. I think obviously Luke Lindenmeyer is the established starter, and I think you have Carter Nelson and Eric Ingerson who are going to play before Sorensen at this point. Maybe that changes too as he moves along. But yeah, you're right. There is not a freshman.
Yeah, so
in the two deep. That's a really interesting point. And yeah.
So what does that freshman mean? I think a lot of things. I mean, first of all, it is
they had a small class. They had a small freshman class.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's reasons why. There's a bunch of reasons why that you're in the spot that you're in. But I do believe this is conducive for an environment that you want to create. You're not you're not leaning so hard on guys who are just joining the program to produce, or a combination of guys that are in that situation. If there is a freshman that pops this year, they will have really, really earned it and passed over multiple second, third, and fourth year players in order to get themselves on the field. That's a good thing. That gives you a chance for linear development as football players. And there is, of course, a bunch of examples over the years of freshmen who jump in and can be leaned on right away and all this different stuff. But routinely, it doesn't work that way. And you need a couple years to get bigger and stronger and learn and all these and get comfortable and all these different things. And so, this roster, the way it's set up right now, gives Nebraska a chance to not only be good this year, but to continue this sort of path and be able to stay old as you go forward?
Yeah. I would say at some point this year, if I'm just projecting right now, there will be a freshman who gets into a role, whether he's on the 2 deep or he's just playing like a 2 deep type of player, either because of his rapid development in the case of maybe a Danny Odom, or you have an injury situation where something piles up. Remember there's only 115 players on the team now in comparison to days of old, when even just last year, where you were 140, and in Rhule's first couple years, 150, 160. So you can quickly get down to freshmen because of a couple of injuries. You can more quickly get to them than you could in past years. But yeah, it's, last year you had Cade Petchak who made his way into that group, and Dawson Merritt. But that's a quiet storyline that goes with the experience conversation. But it's a quiet storyline that Nebraska's freshmen have not been big talking points here in the fall or in August. I think a year from now that's going to be different, and I think that's good because of what they're trying to do and are on track to do with the 2027 recruiting class. I would hope that a year from now there are freshmen that are a big part of the conversation in August and into September, but that's just not the way this season is setting up.
What else do you feel good about?
Defensive depth. And this isn't something that I would have said a month ago. Rhule was asked on Saturday how many players he feels good about on defense putting in the game when it's on the line right now. And I thought he answered this very honestly, because I expected he was going to say 18 to 20, and he said 15 to 18. And he truly means that if he's talking about 15 to 18, because he's not fudging the numbers up a little bit. Like, I'm going through it, and quickly here, I think the starters today, Whittington and Van Poppel in the middle, Lenhart, and then either Winery or Anthony Jones on the edge, Chambliss at will, Foster or Shavers at Mike, McDougal and Jameer Khan at safety, and then Marshall and either Charles or Evans at the other corner spot with Donovan Jones at nickel. So there's 11 starting spots, and I named an extra edge rusher, an extra linebacker, and an extra corner. So that is 14. That is 14. Mm-hmm. 14. And then I think you can probably throw in Cade Petchak,
that does not include Petchak. That does not include any third safety, which whether it's Rex Guthrie or Caleb Benning, and that does not include
a third defensive tackle, either Owen Stoudemire or Tyson Terry. And then I think Dawson Merritt is close to that group too as a fourth linebacker. If you add all of those players in, like even just one of the defensive tackles, then you're up around 19 or 20. And he said 15 to 18. So he's erring on the side of he's truly considering the players who are ready today to play at a starting caliber. And I honestly appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty. And I feel good about the defensive depth.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it goes throughout the rest of the team too. We just talked about it. I think it goes along with the age thing. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm a little weary about maybe the back end. Just a little bit.
Third safety, third corner.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Some questions there. Defensive depth at linebacker and defensive end is really good.
Yeah. And then, you don't exactly know. I feel like defensive tackle or just up front of the defensive line, I guess we should say, is probably going to work out fine. But it is one of those things where you kind of want to see it. You want to see it go right for Nebraska. I want to see those guys make some noise up there. I want to see Van Poppel get back to his self that he was 2 years ago. And I want to see Whittington and what he could do to disrupt things and, all that stuff. But I do feel like that is going to happen for Nebraska this year. So, yeah, I mean, that I don't know that that's like a ton of depth, but I do, I think they're going to lean on a lot of those guys that you mentioned.
Maybe a better way to put it is quality among the top 16 to 18, 15 to 18 players.
I don't see.
I thought they would be
giant
stretching
gaping-
to get to that at this point, and I don't believe they are.
I don't see any giant gaping holes. That's just doesn't exist. Like I wouldn't look at this defense and be like, oh my gosh, what offenses are gonna do to you at this point because of what your personnel says about you, whatever level of the defense it is. Like that's not a thing. So yes, I agree with you on that point.
All right. No questions there, or at least limited questions there. But there are some things about this team that we have questions on, and we will broach those topics after this.
First word from FanDuel baseball fans. If you think you know who's hitting a home run today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game today. If you are right, then you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout this MLB season. Daily Dingers is a fun way to stay engaged with the day's games, whether it's today or tomorrow, the next day, whatever it might be. Still a month plus of regular season baseball left. And then we get into the postseason as well. Who do you think is capable of going deep today? Is it a weather factor? Is it a horrible pitcher on the mound against your favorite team? Whatever it might be, then you can load up on the guy that you think is hitting one over the fence with daily dingers. That's just one of the things you could do on FanDuel. Join all the action today. FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball.
All right, big week ahead on the Locked On Nebraska podcast and for Nebraska athletics. Football team does not play in week 0, but the Nebraska volleyball team does play this week. Exhibition matches at AT&T Stadium on Thursday. Nebraska will play the Florida Gators in a best 2 out of 3 showcase. This will not count toward their NCAA tournament resume. You can find that on TNT. This is the home of the Dallas Cowboys. And then the winner of that match will play the winner of Penn State SMU later that night. So Nebraska could play as many as 6 sets on Thursday night and then head to Vegas. Straight from there, play UNLV and then play Texas on Sunday. It will not be 1 versus 2 when Nebraska plays Texas because the Longhorns did not hold up their end of the deal. This weekend, they were smoked by Arizona State on Saturday night. So a little bit disappointing, I think, for Nebraska not to get Texas when Texas is up there at the top. But they will absolutely be motivated for that one at T-Mobile Arena.
Yeah, everybody. Teams are going to take losses here in this early part of the season. Everybody's.
Yep.
That's the thing that's great about volleyball. I mean, everybody plays each other like in the first 2 weeks. Like every team is going to play each other in that top 10 or 15. It's so cool. So yeah, you take what you can get at this point.
Nebraska fans will be. I don't know. I don't know what their reaction will be to hear this, but Texas A&M, the team that beat Nebraska in Lincoln in the regional final and then rolled to the national championship, went 0-2 in its opening weekend because Kendall Stowers, the player that killed Nebraska, or one of the players that killed Nebraska and was the MVP of the Final Four, hurt her back in warmups during the first match of the year, and they didn't play in either one of those matches, and they went down against Louisville, and I don't remember who beat the Aggies on SMU, maybe on Sunday.
Interesting. Somebody got hurt during pregame warmups for
again. It happened in Nebraska against A&M. Okay, we got a few minutes left, and we got questions that we want to get to, and we got a soundbite from Matt Rhule to include. So I have a question about all of the change that Nebraska is implementing here in this to start this season. Like we've had several months now to grow familiar with all of these names like Calandria and Orich and Gilmer and Mubenga and Chambliss and Whittington. But remember, none of them have been a part of an actual game at Nebraska, and there's going to be a learning curve. So how steep is that? And I asked Rhule on Saturday about his coaches and how he feels they have all come together. 6 new assistant coaches. You got a couple others who have moved up into much more prominent roles at the special teams position, and then Jamar Mosey promoted to assistant head coach. So this is as much change as you've ever had on a Nebraska coaching staff in a year where there was not a head coaching change. Let's hear what Rhule had to say about that.
Hard, but the true test will be what we do in the games, right? No one. Worst thing is when you hear a coach say, "Hey, we practiced really well," and then you get beat, badly. So I mean, at the end of the day, this is a production, performance-based business. So they work really hard. They are extremely detailed, trying to learn a new way of doing things. Because every team is new, every season is new, and certainly every head coach you work for and every university you're at's new. So I've been very pleased with them, been very pleased with the staff. But to me, it's how you handle the season, how you handle game planning, how you handle the rigors of being here, the travel, the weather, all those things, like who could be the same guy every day. And so far so good, but a lot remains to be seen.
That's very much on par with Matt Rhule's entire offseason of approaching answers to questions.
No doubt. Not much
no hyperbole. Just the straight answer.
I almost fell asleep.
I mean, the monotone. Yeah. I thought the answer had some substance to it. Like the answer, he it wasn't just all coach speak. He was basically like, yeah, it looks good. I like these guys. They've come in and they've worked hard, but we got to win. Yeah. They got to do it on Saturday.
Well, the thing, he's like actually physically talking quieter now too. it's like he's got the total package. He's gotten really good at it. So we'll see what happens when the season gets underway. So my thing on this would be this, as far as a question, can Nebraska make the, speaking of change, right? Yes, there's personnel change. There's faces that are changing. I also think you're going to try and hang your hat on some things that you just haven't been very good at over the last couple of years. And I think first and foremost, the word that I would use to describe that is explosiveness. Look at your quarterback and what he brings to the table. Can you be proficient at explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball when the offense has been one of the least explosive offenses in the country over Rhule's tenure here? Defense, they have failed to create turnovers, and that's even when Rhule had good defenses under Tony White over the last couple of years. Can you get takeaways? Can you get sacks? They haven't had a great sack season, with the exception, I think they had 30 in 2023. I think his first year.
Tony White.
I'd have to go back and check that again, but they had low 20 sacks last year. Their leading sack guy had 3.5. It was Javen Wright. Like explosiveness on defense and offense, when last year this is one of the least explosive teams on both sides of the country. Can you be proficient in that and make that who you are in one off season with the change of personnel? I don't know. I don't know if it comes that easy. Maybe that's what those first 3 games are for. That's a question for me. It has to get a lot better in that category on both sides.
32 sacks for Nebraska in 2023 is the high water mark under Matt Rhule. Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of things have to come together for a team to be explosive. It's not just about having a quarterback who throws a good deep ball and fast wide receivers. You've got to be able to hold blocks. They've got to have a scheme that works for that. They've got to know the right time to kind of dial up the moments to take chances, and those things have not come together on the same page in the time that Dana Holgorsen has been in charge. They've at times been very efficient and effective moving the football. I mean, you think about that game against Wisconsin, his first home game that he called, and there were a couple games last year, especially early in the season against bad competition, where they looked very good on the offensive side, like they were a machine. But you got to be able to do it in the Big Ten. You got to be able to do it in November, and that's not where it's happened.
When they were at their best last year, and they did this a few times, where they would have these plotting 12 to 15 play scoring drives that are awesome if you could do it, but it just puts so much pressure on you because you have to get 8 yards every play. You have to get 6 yards.
And you don't have Emmett Johnson this year. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're going to have some 30-plus yard plays this year, a boatload of them compared to last year.
Speaking of Emmett Johnson, shout out to him. Another good performance on Saturday with the Chiefs, scored the Chiefs' first exhibition touchdown of the season on a little plunge into the end zone, and was doing his thing, catching the ball out of the backfield. He's definitely secured himself a spot on that 53-man roster when they break camp in a couple weeks. I'm going to say, as a question that I have, we'll finish the show with this, is Nebraska's ability to run the football. And, I don't want to like dig up a bad subject, but even with Emmett Johnson last year, one of the top 3 running backs in the country, Nebraska averaged 145.9 yards per game on the ground. That was 80th nationally, 4.21 yards per carry, which is not anything to write home about. That put them at 82nd nationally. So you take Emmett out of the mix. Seemingly you've improved your offensive line. You've got a better quarterback for this situation to be able to add his legs to the mix. And then you have a whole big committee of backs who are going to be able to get this done. And when I say, can Nebraska run the ball effectively, what I mean, and the answer to this last year was often no. Can they get 3 yards on the ground when it's 3rd and 3? Can they keep it on the ground in the red zone? Can they run it for Can they run it for 3 first downs in the 4th quarter with a 2-score lead and bleed the clock? That's the kind of running game I don't know at this point if they're going to have.
We'll see. Maybe a lot of that falls on Tony.
QB.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Plenty of questions still to go through in our final week, I suppose, if you call it that, of the offseason. We're fired up. Thanks for being with us all along this offseason, and we're less than 2 weeks away at this point. Appreciate you guys listening today. If you missed anything, of course, check it out on all of our feeds. For those of you on video, we'll send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel on audio. Make your second listen Locked On College Football. Thanks, and have a good day.